Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Maw of Mike, starring me, Michael Curtis, the Director of Product Development for Dungeon Crawl Classics here at Goodman Games. And joining with me, either in one of these directions, because I can't see where he is Brendan LaSalle, who you may also know from Goodman Games, and as my basement dwelling co-host from Keep Crawling with Mike and Brendan. So, Brendan,
Yeah.
thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, Mike. Thanks as always. Fantastic to see you, dude.
It's good to be back. I can't believe this is the sixth episode of the Mall of Mike. We've gone a half year now of
Right?
me bringing what's going on in the world of DCC and adjacent product lines out here to the audience. So, I will apologize tonight. My voice is a little squeaky because it is not 100% recovered from GaryCon, and that's what we're here to talk about first and foremost. So, Brendan, it was great seeing you again in person.
It was great seeing you. It had been a long, long time. We had been a lot of had a lot of good video time, a lot of good show time, even some good gaming time. But we hadn't seen each other in 2.5 years, so it was wonderful to see you and catch up.
No, because we did see each other in that brief window back when.
That's right. You were in the window. Yeah, there was in that magical moment when after the first vaccinations and like we realized that, oh, this is never going to end and this is our lives now. In that window, Mike and I met up in Rhode Island at our buddies. What does Tim call his convention? I can't remember what it's called, but I can't remember what he calls it. But like a
Warlock Con or Wizard Con or
Wizard Con, yeah, I think. But a little backyard convention. We caught up. We saw, we like went and ate pizza at like regular people at a restaurant. It was just phenomenal. So, but nothing near to the excitement that we had this year at GaryCon. Mike, how was your GaryCon?
My GaryCon was amazing, as I was saying before we started. And one of the reasons that my voice is a little squeaky is I probably talked more in those 4 days than I have in the previous 2 years. It was just,
Right.
it was nonstop seeing people, seeing the DCC community. It was absolutely amazing. There was I could not. I was like, so Luke Gygax. I said it probably could have waited another year, for circumstances to be ideal. But on the other hand, we couldn't have waited another year. Like we had to
No.
go out and like socialize with all our big gaming, family, our big extended weird family that is Dungeon Crawl Classics. No. So basically, I said I know you ran a hell of a lot of games. I know because you tend to do like 2 a day, whereas I tend to do 1. So what did you end up running there?
Yeah, I ran. So I ran 2 adventures for the first time, or like completely for the first time. I ran Murder Mountain Smackdown, which is my new X Crawl funnel, named by Mr. Mike Curtis when I was stuck for a name. Thanks again. I love that.
And how did that go? I don't know if we've ever got time to catch up.
I don't know if it's you know what? Let's just say it was definitely a shakedown cruise. There were a couple of moments that were really fun. There was a couple of good fights, but there was one specifically. There's one point where I'm like, oh, this will be a really fun thing to have happen, and it wasn't fun, and it took forever and a lot of dice rolls, and I lost them for a minute there. I was like, ugh. But I will say this, I set up one of those strategic situations. I'm like, all right, if they make a bad decision, they'll do this, and then I'll have them. And they did that, and that was glorious. Like they just got pounded, very early on, a lot of losses and a lot of butt kicking. But it went well. It went really well. Over and over. I'll say, like I said, as a shakedown thing, it went very well. It needs work, but that's why you do playtesting.
Exactly why we're doing it. If everyone was a jewel right off the bat, we'd be working in another industry.
I know, right? But Hollywood, hopefully, yeah. So I did that. I did and then I ran my new Shutter Mountain completely for the first time. I run the first half once, but I ran that. I was much happier with that. I feel like that one is already flowing. I feel like that one's like I felt like the beats were there where they needed to be. I was happy with that one, you know.
Okay.
And I did those on my first day. So my first day, I like first 2 live games I ran since, you know, before the lockdown. Decided, oh, let's just do 2 entirely different things on the same day back to back to really ratchet up my difficulty, you know. And then after that, I ran some old favorites. I ran my horror adventure. I ran Mercy in the Day of Eels. That went well. And then
that was like the first time it was out available in the public. You know, we had
yeah,
that for sale at the booth. Did anybody come up during the con with their brand new version of it and ask you to sign it?
a few people did indeed get me to sign a copy there, which it always makes you go, oh, I'm happy to, you know. And I tend to write too much. I'm like, oh, you're such an awesome, you know. Yeah, so I did. I wrote. I signed a couple of copies of that. That was fun. And then I did my experimental world building narrative one day. That went really well. And then I closed down with the In at 5 points, old favorite for Sunday. Yeah, you know.
If you had to estimate, how many times do you think you've run In at 5 points?
I'll say an honest 35.
Okay.
Like convention games.
Right.
You know, right. So
I know that's been your standby for several years, and I know there was some I think you were doing like 10 conventions a year there for a while. So
yeah, one's per
50 myself.
No, there are some, like I think that the one that if I have a record holder, it's probably Neon Nights. I probably run Neon Nights close to 60 times. Okay. But you know what? I'll run Neon Nights like 3 times at a convention. I only ever run In at 5 points once on Sunday, and then I collapse. I'm helped to my room like James Brown after a concert. They throw the towel on me, and I get dragged off, and you know.
And half of those have been at Mepicon.
Yeah. In fact, In at 5 points debuted at Mepicon, and it was because I had scheduled to run a game twice. And I had been thinking about my In at 5 points thing, and I had the exact same crew show up to my night game. They showed up to my next morning game, and I was like, "Oh, they all signed up for what I had." And I was like, "You guys signed up. I was going to run the exact same thing I ran last night." And they're like, "Well, I guess can you do something else?" I was like, "Yeah." And thus that was the very first time, just kind of, you know.
No. So it is a what was that? Not inspirational. Oh, never mind. It was a spur of the moment adventure that became
it was an improv.
That's the word
yeah.
I'm looking for.
Yeah.
My part of my brain is still in the Baltimore airport. You know, just
I know, right? It's been. I got home late Monday night, and Tuesday I had like so much work to do. I was like, I had told myself I'll take Tuesday off. I didn't take Tuesday off. I haven't taken a day off since then. You know what I mean? I'm still trying to take a day off, and it was like Tuesday I would like write an email, and then I'd be like, all right, I better respond to that email. Look at your sent file. Oh, you sent one. What did he say? Like, it was like I had the hardest time getting the most meager tasks like took so long, like getting cereal in the morning. Like it was this confusing minefield I had to like, you know, sneak past. So I don't know, but here we are now. And now I'm feeling like my old self again, other than my crazy leg. So
it was really weird. And if anybody's out there in the viewing audience who could probably attest to this, is that getting to GaryCon was such a kind of it actually got me excited about gaming again. You know, I mean, because not that I lost interest, but I would say is that, you know, there's a certain Zoom you reach Zoom tolerance, and you know, after 2 years of running everything online, it was kind of good to, you know, just be sharing a table and actually see people roll dice in front of you, and you know, not have the questions like, do you use a virtual or can I roll them here? You know, it's like, oh, please, by all means, roll them at the table so we can all see. So.
No, fully. That was that was weird. You know what was strange though? I kept like, you know, you're running a game online and you always have the other screen over here where you can quickly Google things, and something came up and it was like, I was so mad that I couldn't just Google that. Like, this is crazy. Why can't I just go to my other screen? Why can't I put pause on all of my players, make them stand right where they are so that I can go and just take a minute to myself, have a breath of air? I was like, oh.
you're standing at the front of the chair. And you keep looking over at your second monitor, which is not there, which is all your notes.
I know, right? Yeah. It's like, hey, can I get a cat video over here in the corner, please? Can I just get one little cat video? Is that okay?
But it was nice being able to see,
Oh
people
God.
at the table and being able to tell like who, again, because always the hardest thing about running games online is like, reading the table and making sure like, everybody's engaged and everything. It's like there was one game, clearly there was somebody who was up a little bit too late the night before and was kind of like grudging me showing up there, and I'm trying to make sure he's still involved and everything, while so it was nice to be able to do that, but I mean, so but it's definitely reacquiring that skill of dealing
Oh
with
my
people.
God.
So but
I feel like it took me 3 games to start feeling like myself again.
Yeah, so that was like Tuesday afternoon. Thursday afternoon, that's like
Friday evening. But yeah, like even my first one on my morning Friday game, I was still like really nervous and hyped up. And that's my Langmar adventure that I've run that. I mean, I've got that one down, and the guys did a really good job, and they kind of burned through it. We were actually done like an hour early, I want to say. And it was cool. I had Mark Bruner's daughter at that one. 11 years old, and has no compunction about killing a delivery person if need be. Let's just say, in the grand tradition of Langmar, you better just avoid, the heroes.
Yeah. I will say that being I'm glad we had the turnout that we had at GaryCon, because GaryCon has traditionally been the place where we kind of see the younger generation. And like because that's where Haley first played in my games, when she was like 11 or whatever it was at that point. So now Haley's in college and she's running her own games and everything like that. So it's interesting to see now the next generation, which is coming up, the 11 and 12-year-olds who are sitting around the table and stuff. Keith Nelson was there. He had his son. His son was in one of my games. So it was just,
it's gorgeous.
So I'm glad to see that there's still the next generation of people involved in this game.
Oh yeah. I love. There's nothing like having a really good kid gamer at your table with that hyper imagination and the energy. Bad kids are the worst in the world, but a good kid gamer is amazing, and like completely like the whole day can be like, oh, that was so fun, and there's nothing quite like introducing it to a new young person.
Right. I find it very difficult. Well, I am more inclined to encourage shenanigans amongst kid players. Like when I think one of Keith's son was playing in one of my virtual games, and it was my 0 level funnel, and he ended up having like a goat. He was a halfling with a goat or something like that. He decided that he was going to ride his goat and basically like a knight in combat for the rest of the adventure. And and one of those things be like that. I don't know about that idea. It's just a goat. And I'm like, no, that's the greatest idea whatsoever. Like, please, by all means, get up on that goat. It's time to look at the mounted combat rules for Dungeon Crawl Classics. I've not used these before. So.
That's awesome.
Oh. I don't work with kids and don't work with pets. My Hollywood rule is that I just worked with kids and pets, and it turned out to be fantastic for everybody. So get up on that goat is right. Yep.
Tim White's here. Hey, I want to say big thanks. Tim gave us some money to buy a round for the crew, and I couldn't figure a time to get the whole crew together at the same time. So I just hit Piggly Wiggly on my way in with some Tim money, and had to spread that love over the whole show. So thank you, Tim. Love you, baby. That was super cool, man.
Getting that money back, Tim.
No, that's Piggly Wiggly is deposited that, dude.
Brendan conveniently couldn't find the time to buy us all around, so that's
it was Piggly. I bought Piggly Wiggly. I bought beer for everybody. Everybody got there was house beers, and I was trying to give you a La Croix, but
he says the man who was literally carrying around a 12-pack of La Croix the entire night. Couldn't find that guy to give it.
I get thirsty.
But it was good. I managed to take out most of the writing crew for the Goodman Games people who were there. We went to a wonderful little Thai place in Lake Geneva, and there are times when you just open a menu and the menu does all your choosing for you. For example, This was like traditional Thai food. There's also sushi as well, but some of the items on the menu were less traditionally named. Like I opened it up and staring at me was the angry cowboy. So I just said, menu, your job is you have done your job. I will be getting the angry cowboy this evening. So.
I did the same thing, and they had sushi, and I had a Godzilla roll because I mean, what am I? And there was like I can't remember the other one, but it was
it was sicko mode.
Sicko mode. That's what it was.
Beast mode. We figured out.
Yes. It was sicko mode. It was hey, thanks, Long Con Eddie, for subscribing. Thank you, buddy. That's awesome. Thank you very much for subscribing. Yeah, and sicko mode was amazing. It was the best sushi roll, like too. So.
Oh well. So that was, like I said, it was great to be out there. It was great to see everybody. I mean, it was seeing a booth, and I have to say, we must be doing something right because in the Gamers Hall, the Goodman Games booth was the biggest booth aside from like the Gary Con booth. I mean, we also had the Black Billy Publishing booth, so we're actually 2 for the price of 1. But it was nice to see all of that product on display and everything, and I originally asked Jen Brickman to be on the show to help talk about it, but she had other guests. But good job, Bren. Good job, Jen. Good job, Taco. Good job, Alan. Good job, everybody who worked the booth, and we appreciate you getting stuff out. And so very happy to be seeing people shelling stuff, shelling the goods out in public again. Oh, and Chris Arneson was there, and Doug had his booth going on. I got all the Hobo Nabacons from Doug, luckily this year, so I'm all done. So I came home with about 4 boxes of little toy soldiers. So it was
that's awesome.
Somebody was speaking of trying to get getting something from somebody, they had like this bargain bin that I was going through, and I saw this one thing there. There's one called like The Haunted Tower by this Joe Goodman guy. I think so I threw him a couple bucks. And then there's other this Sunken Garden thing by this Brendan LaSalle character. So I took pity on him. The guy gave me $1, I took it away. So
yeah, that's some charity work on your behalf. So,
but after us not getting apple pie at the diner, I was too depressed. So
I know. Yeah, we went to our little favorite diner, and they didn't have the pie lady had a baby, was out all week, and well, that's great. Obviously, we didn't get our pie. That was a bummer. So
I'm saying that baby could be learning how to make pie.
You know what I mean? Like right now,
early to start a remedial education program.
She could have had a papoose and been like rolling it, like
All right. Well, I think that's kind of the overall recap of GaryCon. If you did not make GaryCon, I am sorry. But however, speaking of cons, there is one coming up next month, and it's one that Goodman Games was on. They don't even have to put on pants to attend, and that is Romance of the Cyclops Con. The Cyclops Con saga continues. So that will be May 13th to May 15th. So if you want to run something, please get those events in. You can find links to it on the Goodman Games website. And we look forward to seeing you there. And, we'll continue to see what's going on with the extended Cyclops family. Brendan, do you think the Cyclops might show up?
The Cyclops is unpredictable, uncontrolled, and he goes where the food is, which is, of course, all he eats are gamers. So I have a feeling he'll make an appearance. And so watch yourselves, folks. It'd be a bad week to spill olive oil and Parmesan on yourself. Let's just put it that way. Okay. So.
All right. Well, we're going to go. We'll be right back with our next guest. So you guys hang out. Smoke them if you got them. We'll be back in a few. All right. Thank you. Hello, everybody. I hope you had a nice break because we are back. And joining me is Lou Hofer. Lou, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
All right.
Pleasure to be here.
Well, I'm very glad because you're stuck there for the next 15 minutes. So there's actually kind of a through theme going on with the show, although that has not been talked with Brendan. There's actually you and our final guest both did stuff for a little game called Mutant Classics.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
and speaking and when I say did stuff, some of that is funding right now. So you just launched the Kickstarter like what, like 2 3 days ago, something like that.
About a week, but it feels like a day or so ago.
I'm still getting over the con stuff. Everything is 2 or 3 days.
Oh
So
yeah.
so that is something called the Time Lost Citadel, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Okay.
it's
Now
good.
I was going to say I think I know what you're doing there, but not everybody might be. So what did you tell the viewing public a little bit about the Time Lost Citadel?
Yeah, so my lawyer has advised me to neither confirm nor deny that it's based on some classic adventure that many of us has played, and what I tried to do is, for the first and second generation gamers like us that experience that adventure and the thrill of it, to see how I could translate that into kind of something that has a lot of the more modern aesthetics that we come to enjoy in a game, as far as like better dungeon ecology, a better through line with plot, layout, and all the pretty stuff, kind of more to the modern standards, and then also translate it into MCC, just to radiate that dude and see what comes out the other end. So that's what I've done. And it's the kind of thing where it's almost like the West Side Story, right? I mean, that's just Romeo and Juliet, right? But yet
Right.
they're both in their own right really good, pieces of theater, and that's what I'm trying to do here, is make something that can be enjoyed completely on its own, but yet people in the know will be like, oh yeah, yeah, I remember that's supposed to be like this,
Hmm.
things like that.
This might be the first time I've ever heard like Romeo and Juliet and Mutant Crawl Classic spoken in the same breath. So so right now we're already breaking landmark stuff here. So no. So it's interesting because like you clearly you could have just done the first part of that. You could have like taken the inspiration from like this classic adventure and kind of done it in a more modern sensibility sort of
Uh-huh.
stuff. I mean that's kind of what Goodman Games has been doing with the Ore line, where we take the classic modules, we convert them over for 5e, and we add some new stuff with kind of with the expectation that people who haven't been gaming for 40 years we're kind of looking for. So
Gives them an
not so
in,
you
yeah.
could have done that, but you said no, this is not enough. I need to
Yeah, yeah.
bathe this in high intensity radiation. So
Well, it's just, I mean, that's such a, I mean, because I mean, you've done stuff like that with like Frozen in Time, where it's just such a fun canvas to, once you take all the restrictions off and go like, hey, this is a far flung future, mutant filled world. What you gonna do? Anything you want, right? I mean, that's the
mm,
answer. Anything you want.
yeah, I mean
So it's
that's I mean technically you can do that with any. I mean the whole idea is like
yeah,
with a fantasy role playing game, but there's that certain extra frisson that you get if you're like, okay, well now I have goblins and now they have flamethrowers, or now they have rocket sleds. I mean,
oh, that's brilliant. Hold on, I gotta write that down. Goblins, flamethrowers.
so I steal all my ideas from Brendan's X crawl stuff. Brendan and I would have the greatest discussions. I've to say, it's like, Mike, I have Drider clowns and I don't know how to get them in this adventure. Like, well, obviously, you have to put them on teeter totters and you'd be launching
Yeah.
them at one another. Obviously. So yeah, so I understand the thrill of taking something that unexpected, and which is this is certainly unexpected. I mean, I this is your second Kickstarter kind of like in this vein, right? This
Yeah,
is
for the MCC stuff, yeah, this is my second one. Yeah. So
right
yeah, the
because
first one was Seekers of the Unknown, uh, which is available through Goodman, and this one's kind of like a sequel to it, but it also stands on its own. They're just kind of loosely connected. In fact, in Jim's Scientific Barbarian #5, there's going to be like a little mini adventure that directly
okay.
links the two. But yeah, it's in that same vein of just this one. I wanted to find a new direction to go, so we're taking it to the Red Planet. You get to deal with alien cultures, a whole sword and planet sort of adventure. And that was kind of interesting because when I first started off writing it, it's like, okay, we'll have all this fantastic alien technology, but then once you start writing it, you realize that, well, that's kind of just what MCC is anyhow, right? Because the characters are all Stone Age, characters, and every technology is alien technology. So we went dabbled into magic. So the aliens are these kind of mentalists that they have this evil god Goznar that they've made an allegiance with, and he's teaching them magic. So they got some magic spells in there. So I got to kind of play around with the whole DCC magic system, which was pretty thrilling.
Okay. So this is like like you said, like an MCC meets kind of Sword and Planet thing. So this is like this is less like, you know, the glittering remnants of some destroyed future, and this is more kind of like the you know, the John Carter, like, so like the city is like this ancient stone, you know, edifice thing. You're not, you know, not
Yeah.
not
So
glass or anything, right?
without giving too much of the plot away, the basic foundation is that this alien culture, you know, kind of left their old gods to worship this creature that they dug up while constructing a pyramid. Probably sounds familiar. And the creature's like, I can give you these magic energies, but they require a life force to trade for them. So they got into this whole culture of sacrifice. It kind of goes into like a H.G. Wells Morlock sort of situation where they've got this breeder class, and the breeder class decides to revolt by just basically committing suicide. They all destroy themselves, and then there was no sacrifice. And so then the god got angry and kind of cast all these spells, creating these elemental creatures that the players actually get a face later on in the game. And the elemental creatures just basically boil away the planet's atmosphere, destroying it all. And the Martians that had the spell abilities used what they had left of their magic to basically create a time bubble around their little citadel. So it's kind of in this dilated time state, which makes for some interesting things, because then the players can go in there and out of there, and ones that are outside of it are aging normally, while the ones in there, you know, almost frozen. So you can have some kind of cool effects with that. You know, they can meet someone on the surface that's in the refugee camps, go into the bubble, come out what they think is just a couple days later, and all of a sudden everybody in the refugee camps is totally different. You know, got a whole different leader, a whole different setup. So it's a lot of little fun places to play around.
Is there anything you didn't manage to get into this adventure? I mean,
one thing, and I don't know. So I wanted to do, because there's this whole other tie-in where the ancient Earth Space Force basically sent some troops to this world chasing this alien threat, and so there's all these discarded hover tanks and stuff, and I wanted to get a big like vehicle on vehicle battle scenario, and you know, get to kind of dabble in creating some interesting vehicle rules. I was kind of envisioned doing something with the kind of make vehicles more like spells, whereas you're driving them, you're rolling on your agility or whatever, and it has different effects of what the vehicle can do depending on what you're trying to do. And then maybe do like spell duel charts to figure out, like, if I'm taking my vehicle and trying to either chase yours or wreck it into yours, you know, what it'll do. But that was back when there was going to be alien tech and stuff, and before I went the magic route. So that's off the table this time. But I've got a way to work it into the next one I'm working on.
You couldn't find a way to get Ogre, Steve Jackson's Ogre, involved in this.
Yeah,
you know, like
big box set.
as well, right? What level adventure is this aimed at?
Yeah, so I'm looking. It's going to be a second level. It probably would still be pretty challenging for a third level party. So second, third. Yeah.
This is why I love DCC and all adjacent stuff. You know, has anybody else heard like what we just been discussing for the last 5 minutes? Like, so this is like what, like a 15th level D&D adventure? Second level, you know, maybe third. You know.
Yeah, well, that's the beauty of designing for those systems, is that, you know, you don't have to be so serious about you know, that whole challenge rating thing, because stuff has such, you know, dramatic possibilities. There's so much swing to the system. You know, even a first level character, if they roll right and burn some luck, it could do some amazing things.
No, so this is kind of for MCC, but it's also for DCC as well. I mean, it's just obviously yeah,
yes. For sure. I mean, it could, yeah, it is easily, you know, it could fit for either one. It's kind of nicer for the MCC because it's introducing the magic, so that's like a new and interesting element. Okay. Whereas if you're bringing in DCC characters, that's maybe not going to feel as alien and wild to them as you know, from MCC. But yeah, either way,
with all the goo and the Martian artifacts and cyber tanks lying around, it's like, you know.
There you go. That's the side. Yeah.
So, right. So, all right. Well, you know, I mean, that certainly sounds like there's a lot going on with this. So, you know, I mean, this is, as you said, you're going to have like there'll be kind of like a link venture that connects this to Secrets of the Unknown. So
Yeah.
So is Secrets of the Unknown first level, or is that
It is, yeah.
okay? All right. So if you know, I think this is funded already. If
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
yeah.
In fact, if I can just get a few more dollars, folks. Like right now, it's going to be a perfect bound book with a fold out map that comes out of it. But what I really want to do, because it's so nice to have a saddle stitch book where it lays flat, and you got that cover that you can put things on. So what I really want to do is do that with a small, like, journal sized booklet that goes with it, that has kind of all the surface of the planet encounters, and all the monster stats in it, and then also do the fold out map. Or map, I mean. So I think we're a couple hundred away from doing that. So hopefully within the next 3 weeks, we'll make that couple of hundred, and I'll be able to produce it in what I think is really the best format it can be in, as far as trying to run it and keep it all nice and straight and everything. Be able to give you the most content for your dollar too.
All right. Well, if you're watching this now and you're in the chat, we posted a link. So we maybe we can make this happen before the 10 o'clock hour. So just a couple hundred.
It'll be fantastic.
No. Do you have a third kind of in the back of your head about
So I've got three more that are in some various stage of from between a line in a notebook to like some outlines. But yeah, and I'm trying to get away from this using the same source as inspiration. So I've got one that's going to be dealing with a hyperspeed train that is horrific. That kind of dabs into another role playing's classic adventures. So
got you. That's it.
that's the one I'm really looking at maybe doing next. So.
No, well, you know what they say about trains. They always take you where you're going. So I don't know if they do now. Anyway, so.
They do that. I heard it here.
All right. It's all right. Well, so all right. Well, thank you very much. I mean, I wish you the best of luck. I mean, obviously, the first one was a success, and this is already funded. So, so barring any more catastrophes, in which we can't rule out the winner of the current day and age.
Oh no.
At least you have a time lost Citadel bubble to retreat to if things continue to get worse.
Yes. Fall back.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Lou. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike.
And we'll be back with our final guest in just a little bit. So just stick on there, and while we're there, why don't you go check out the Kickstarter, throw some bucks at it. Okay.
Woohoo.
Hey everybody, we are back, and joining me is Mr. Tim Snider, best known for being your friendly neighborhood Snyder man. That's correct.
Oh, that is correct.
So Tim, you are joining us because we are here to talk about the imminent, to be released this month, the latest Mutant Crawl Classics adventure, which is known as
When Manimals Attack! Exclamation point.
Oh,
for extra seriousness.
I have to say that title cracked Joe up.
Well, it's amusing because when we were kind of putting it together, there were at least 3 or 4 working titles, and I tossed that one in as just a really bad pun on the When Animals Attack television show, and the fact that Joe liked it, he immediately made it the title in process. So
I think it says a lot about Joe.
It says a lot. Absolutely.
No, and it's actually funny because I had totally forgotten about that Fox series. That Fox series back in the 90s, When Animals Attack. I was like, oh, that's right.
Either that or the TV show Manimal that
God,
back in the 80s. Yeah. Talk about a show you forgot about.
No, I have not. I have
no,
not.
You haven't.
I've not forgot about Manimal or Automan. So, yeah, let's not go down that rabbit hole.
I literally have the entire DVD box set of Automan. Literally, less than.
I am sorry. I'm very, very sorry for your loss there. So let's not talk about let's not talk about Automan, but let's talk about When Manimals Attack.
Yes.
This one actually has a somewhat unusual origin story because
that it does.
Yeah, because this is actually Joe said, "Hey, I have this Ken Kelly piece of art. So, can we do anything with it?" And I said, "Let me see." So that's when Tim, you got an email from me, correct?
That is correct. To fill in the audience as to exactly the origin of this, you dropped the art at me. You and I had already been kind of talking about possibly bringing me on board to write something, and you showed me that amazing piece of art by Ken and said, well, can you do anything with this? Does this kind of strike a tone with you? And as I looked at it, the thing that kind of struck me is that, obviously it looked very demonic, but there aren't really demons in MCC. But it looked to me like a mashup of various kinds of animal traits grafted to a human body. So I saw ram horns, bat wings, a warthog snout, alligator tail, and it just struck me as perhaps this was a manimal gone completely crazy as far as genetics were concerned. And I had kind of been kicking around a concept for an adventure, and the elevator pitch was MCC meets Island of Dr. Moreau, making that your second H.G. Wells reference in this episode. Um, but so anyway, and I just kind of took it from there. He became the big bad
Right.
of the adventure, and everything kind of built backwards from that. And that's kind of what kind of sparked the genesis of this.
Right. And I think any creature that has like a bullet belt and a katana obviously is just that's the big bad right there. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
and
like,
two or three guns and a grenade belt, and they are all in it.
so this is this actually kind of this the way they've written this, it actually harkens back to some of the kind of the background material which is in MCC, because they're the basically, well, what some might know as like the supremacists from Gamma World, the kind of the manimal like Ancient Alliance. They claim that they come from a place called
Yeah,
ZUU. So
the
this
chosen zoo is the archaic alignment, as I would.
right.
Mhm.
So this is potentially zoo, or at least a zoo, so this is kind of this is the kind of the central part around which the adventure focuses. I don't,
Mhm.
I suppose I consider we're already talking about this as kind of inspired by the Isle of Dr. Moreau. I was saying that we go to a zoo at some point is isn't really a spoiler.
Well, yeah, I don't think it's too much of a spoiler, because I believe I even mentioned on the back cover that potentially this could lead to encountering the fabled lands of Zoo, which is part of the background of the manimal genotype,
Mhm.
which makes it kind of interesting. When I've run MCC, the two classes that everybody wants to play is mutant and manimal. And so, kind of putting an adventure together around one of those genotypes, the manimals, kind of excited me. So, yeah, the adventure kind of takes off when well, the adventure kind of lands in the party's backyard. It just kind of comes to them rather than them being sent off on a mission, when they are called upon to rescue a small child, a small manimal child, and through interacting with this person, they get a little bit of information about the fact that the fabled lands of Zoo might very well exist. And seekers being seekers, they go out and seek this place. Uh,
Seek
and
and ye shall find. And
seek and ye shall find. And so, yeah, it actually was kind of neat to introduce what may or may not be this legendary land that was actually discussed in the rulebook. And it's up to the seekers to kind of find out what is this place, what's going on there, and of course, what's going on with the guy on the front cover.
right, right. No, if I remember, I don't remember what the exactly title of the zoo in question, but is that drawn from any real existing? That was my impression.
No,
No, it's not.
Yeah, yeah, that was. I will admit that the layout of Zoo is based on both really super basic zoos that you might find at like Central Park Zoo and stuff like that, where there's not a whole lot of space, and obviously I didn't want to stretch it over the course of like 4 or 5 square miles, but also yeah, it's based on some layouts of some current zoos, but also a lot of it is my own imagination. And
Okay. Well, it was apparently it was imaginative enough that I was like, I wonder if this is like based on a zoo by Tim. Like, you know.
no,
So I mean, the title that was given sound very zooish, like like real world zooish, if I recall correctly. So.
right. Actually, I don't even know if I know what you're referring to, and no, the place does not exist. That was
Okay.
just it's one of those places that you find in role playing games that sounds real, but it
Right.
isn't in real life.
So we need to start a Kickstarter to found the zoo. So in the future,
Right.
we
That'll
have a
be
place for
that'll
the
be the
animals to
working
come
name
to.
of it.
Be proactive.
Correct.
So yeah, so this is I will say that there are a lot of different at the zoo, so there's a lot of different habitats. There's a lot of different interesting animals that you can meet. So
Right. So when the players eventually locate Zoo, that's another thing that I'm kind of excited about. No, actually, the players who play test it were pretty excited about. Is that MCC is kind of based around the hot house jungle kind of setting, and very rarely does it really leave from that kind of environment. Well, Zoo, when it was designed, ZUU, it was designed for creatures of various kinds of environments, and those environments are, set up. They're artificially recreated there, and so now you have your players trying to contend with, say, an Arctic environment, and then they might very well an hour later find themselves in the middle of a Louisiana bayou, or possibly an oceanic beach, and it's all located within one superstructure. And so it's up to them to just even try to survive the environments, let alone the various animal genotypes,
Right.
and the evil warlord that holds them all in his clenched fist.
or as every parent can attest to, the most nefarious habitat of the zoo, the gift shop.
And there are places where you can go shopping to spend your hard-earned credits. So yeah, if you want to do a little bit of salvaging, there is plenty of opportunity for that as well.
You too can play When Animals Attack and come out of that with a plushy, lion. That's it.
That's
and
right.
a very interesting piece of a very interesting artifact, which is kind of which is kind of like the crux of the of what drives the plot. So
Yes,
we don't
there is that, and for those players who are unhappy with their current class, there is an opportunity, if you are brave enough and you burn enough luck, to possibly even switch over to a different class. And I'll just leave it at that.
So in true MCC fashion, there's something you can monkey with. There is no
get in the booth, push a button, see what happens.
You might
Go
actually
high.
end up an actual monkey if by
If you want to be a monkey boy, you can be a monkey. But yeah, I'm actually very, very pleased with the way it turned out, and I'm incredibly excited to actually contribute to the MCC line. I've been playing MCC since the day it came out, and just being able to throw my name on something is fantastic.
Well, I mean, you had been putting your name on MCC stuff, beforehand. You had a couple of releases that you had self-published, but
yeah, I've been doing a bit of self-publishing. Some people have probably played Dead in the Water. I've got the desk in room 810, which is in perpetual play testing. I've got to get that out. And I've written for the Gong Farmers, and I think I created that a zine, Country Meat Grinder Classics, I think is what it was called. But MCC is, I'm an old school Gamma World player. And so, I've been just the post-apocalypse is just near and dear to my red burned heart.
Right.
This has been fun. I hope everybody enjoys it.
And I will say this, but we don't have enough time to get the whole story tonight. But if you ever get a chance to run into Tim either online or a convention, ask him about the Thundar the Barbarian story. Because this is I think the very first Gary Con I went to, I heard the Thundar the Barbarian story, and I still tell the story because it's just so good. I wasn't even involved, but it was hysterical. So there you go. So
Yeah, Thundar the Barbarian, yet another post-apocalyptic love from the '80s, near and dear to my heart. So yeah, of course,
the cunning plan to break into the Smithsonian, I believe it was. So speaking of this, since we mentioned it at the top of the show, Romance of the Cyclops Con is coming up. Do you have any plans on running anything, perhaps, for Romance of the
Yes, I
Cyclops?
do. I had some playtesting of some new adventures that I've been playing around with, scheduled for GaryCon, but due to some personal circumstances, I had to cancel those playtests. Therefore, they will be servicing at Romance. I need to get them on the docket, but yes, I do have. Let me see here. I've got one that I'm wrapping up called Phase from Below, which is a second level. I've got a first, second level one called the Elsewhere Express that I'm currently playtesting. And because I really wanted to see what would happen if you had high level MCC play, I've got one called Yesterday's Subculture. I think I'm pronouncing that right. And that is for 7th and 8th level MCC.
Wow. All right, that should be awesome. All right. Well, MCC number 12, When Manimals Attack, is available now for pre-order on the Goodman Games site. So if anything we talked about makes you feel like I have definitely got to check this out, you can put a pre-order into it right now. Well, actually, in about 10 minutes. Don't want to abandon the show in the middle of it, unless you can multitask, and you're allowed to go do that. So you can, and it will be shipping out later this month and in the store shortly thereafter. So Tim, thank you very much for coming on and talking about When Manimals Attack. And
thank you for having me.
And we'll be we'll gonna take a quick break, and I'll be right back with a kind of our conclusion outro update on things going on. So just hold on right there, and we'll be back momentarily. All right. Hey everybody, so thank you very much for tuning in for another episode of Maw of Mike, where you kind of get what's going on in the world of DCC and adjacent product lines directly from me, Michael Curtis. So a couple things I just want to bring to your attention. Obviously we didn't have a big what's new with Goodman Games at GaryCon. Joe Goodman couldn't make it. Chris Doyle couldn't make it either. So this is, and I've been kind of basically keeping the stream of information going on a monthly basis anyway. So basically most of the stuff we talked about is kind of stuff which is currently going on, but there's other stuff, waiting in the wings. I'm sure we're going to have some we'll have a couple of sneak peeks of stuff which is coming up for Free RPG Day in just a moment. But before we get to there, I would like to remind you all that the Indiegogo campaign for Home Adventure just launched today, and I think it's actually been funded already. So that collects the first 7, I believe, off the top of my head, DCC adventures, the DCC RPG adventures. So if you do not own them, or you would like them all in a convenient, hardcover version of it, you can go on and back that right now. So there, I just drop a link to the Indiegogo site into the chat there. So that has been long promised, and once I got in there and started hitting that logjam with a big stick, things are now flowing again. So you'll be able to kind of get that thing going on there. I am also very pleased to say that Dying Earth is just about finished with layout. We're waiting on just a last few bits of art. But we're going to make that available to Kickstarter backers, kind of get to take a look at the PDFs for the box set. Some of the art will be kind of placeholders, but we have most of the text locked down at this point. That will be coming up, I want to say, within a week or two. We're still kind of just still last couple of things. So if you did back the Kickstarter, keep an eye on Kickstarter messages. We will hopefully be sending out the kind of a first look at that to give you guys an idea of what do you have in store for you, and kind of help us do the stop the typo thing. Hey, you spelled Dying Earth wrong, that kind of sort of thing. It's kind of gone through material proofing right now, but the more set of eyes we get on it, the happier we will all be. So, so that would be coming along in the near future. I am very excited about that. We are trying to get this into your hands as quickly as possible. I would very much like it to not be a late Kickstarter. I would actually like it to be an early Kickstarter, and we've all been working very hard to make that happen. So, big props out to Matt Hildebrand, who basically he and I spent a lot of GaryCon talking about, all right, how are we going to get this away? So yeah, so the artwork's amazing. I've had a great chance to look through it, and I think people are going to be very, very happy. If you're a fan of Dying Earth, the team has done a tremendous job with that. So that is, so keep an eye out. If you've been watching the Goodman Games website, you know we're having a little poll right now called Attack of the Sequel. And so we kind of combed through about 10 of some of the more iconic adventures that we put out over the last 10 years, and stuff which is kind of rife for a sequel. And right now it's pretty much a four-way tie, which is very interesting. You know, so we thought some of them would be kind of a runaway one, but right now it's basically a four-way tie between Mr. Brendan LaSalle's Hole in the Sky, my Frozen in Time, Harley Stroh's Doom of the Savage Kings, and also mine, The Chain Coffin. So I'm dominating. No, actually, no. I actually tried to put something else in, and Joe's like, "Well, no, put that one in." Okay, all right, I'll do it. All right, so, voting on that will end Wednesday, so you have the chance to go in there and Lou, yes, Frozen in Time. If it needs a sequel, if you've not voted for Frozen in Time, it's one of the top four. So go on there right now and say that. And we do appreciate, we vote for the against the Atomic Overlord there, Midnight Green. You know, I mean, all of them got votes. None of them were sitting there languishing. All of them has gotten love, but obviously some have gotten love for second. And as Brendan says, more Shutter Mountains, the guy who is currently writing a Shutter Mountain adventure. So he may have some vested interest in that. You've probably noticed is that we had a MCC through line going through this entire show, and if you've not been, if you kind of been interested about what we're talking about, like you've heard about this MCC thing, but you weren't too sure about it, we have now made available the MCC first time fan kit, which is available on the website. Much like we've done with the DCC first time fan kit, $30 gives you the softcover rule book. It gets you the funky dice. It gives you the MCC judges screen, and it gives you MCC number 4, the Warlords of Atos. So that's enough to get you up and running. I will also drop the link of that also into the chat. So if you want to go check that out directly onto the Goodman Games site, for $30, you know, $5 more than what, you know, most gaming companies give you a starter set, which is get you, you know, first and second level and a couple lousy spells. We'll give you a whole mutant rule book. No, and plus all the great stuff. So that is basically going on with that. I believe I want to close out and on a little sneak preview of what we've got coming up, not next month, but if you've been hanging around in this place for long enough, you know that June is, well, at least, you know, back before the world changed, was Free RPG Day. And as always, Goodman Games has been supporter of Free RPG Day since the very beginning. And we have two things which will be available for Free RPG Day this year. First of all is the Free RPG adventure, which I wrote, a little thing called Danger in the Air. And hopefully Elena will be able to show that to you momentarily, because this has an awesome cover. I'm very happy the way this turned out. And so it is a memorable one by all means. I'm always very happy to see what Stephen Poe can do with my crazy writings. So this will be all for Free RPG Day. And yes, Midnight Green, it is wild, is it not? So one of those things where I got a weird idea in my head, and Stefan makes it even better. And speaking of awesome covers, although we have funded DCC 100, of course, you know, it's going to take a little bit. Yeah, Tim White, look at that pig. That's a pretty good looking pig. DCC 100, of course, is funded, and it is in the chute, but it's going to take a little while to get out there. So we will be having out DCC 101, which, despite what you might not believe, is not an introductory course in Dungeon Crawl Classics. It's actually the next module after DCC 100, written by Marzio Muscadere, and with a cover by Will McAuslin. And this one is, I believe we have the kind of the the art for the cover available, and this one is called "The Veiled Vaults of the Onyx Queen," a very kind of Robert E. Howard, Clark Ashton Smith inspired funnel. So so if you're looking for something a little darker, a little more dangerous, this was Marzio did a great job on this one, and I love the cover. This Will did a great job of kind of the hot and cold, the issues and stuff on there. So I'm very happy with the way the DCC is going currently. We'll hopefully be getting we'll be giving you more information as things develop. Keep an eye as always on the Goodman Games website. As soon as there's stuff to share, I will always share it here. If I'm not sharing stuff, that means usually because we're still working on it. So we do keep track of what you people are asking for. But pandemic has like really still knocked everybody for a loop. But the thankfully the production change and stuff is moving again. So I'm very happy with the police of everything that's going on. So that's that. So thank you all for joining me, and I will be back in about a month for another installment of the Maw of Mike. So until then, keep it weird, keep the funky dice rolling, and remember, if you've not done so already, please submit events to Romance of the Cyclops Con. And so, because it's always good to hang out with you people online if I can't do it at GaryCon and other games. So, all right, evening, everybody. Have a great night.